I'm Milton from Team Flex, and today we're going to be looking at the CPA, a couple different actual classes here for bikini and for Fit Model. We're going to go over criteria, go over the placings, why they landed the way they did, and help you gain better insight out there as a competitor or somebody watching on the sidelines who may want to be competing to what you need to be bringing for either one of these groups. We're seeing Fit Model now hit the stage up there in the CPA, which is Canada, if you weren't aware of that. And now, we have a pretty clear comparison of what that's looking like up there for CPA compared to bikini. So we're going to cover both in this video today and give you better insight overall into what to expect if you are competing in the CPA up there as the season rolls out. All right, so let's get down to it. First thing I want you to note, interestingly enough, okay, and I keep having these little snafus. They seem to be coming up as I keep making, videos, but this event, for whatever reason, only posted the front poses of the athletes at this event. There are no back poses featured on NPC News right now. So not super ideal for giving us the full story, but still plenty to talk about. And, we cannot ignore the fact Fit Model is now rolling out in CPA. We're going to talk about it. So these are our three class winners here. I'm basically a pirate. These are the three class winners here. And this is what we have for Fit Model up at the CPA right now. Okay, so right here in the middle, this is our overall winner, our Class D winner, Sydney. Right over here, we have Miranda. She is Class B winner. And just over here, we have Victoria, Class C winner. So these are the three class winners of the group here. These are the only open class that were at this event. Let's talk a little bit about it from what we can. Keep in mind, we're not going to get the back post. That's all right. Don't necessarily need it to talk about the criteria here today. So as it sits, this is a little bit more muscle than we have seen in Fit Model going on overall, right? If we look at Sydney here, she does have a little bit more of that shape to the delts, pretty good taper into the waist. Lower body seems to be holding a little bit more muscle than we have seen on some of the other Fit Model competitors, other events taking place in the States and elsewhere. A lot of that same effect going on over here for Miranda, a little bit more in the shoulders, tapers in the waist, a little bit more muscle, maybe lower body. Honestly, not even as much as the overall winner here, Sydney. So interesting to note. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Let's look over here at Victoria. So Victoria, a little bit of that shoulder shape, tapers into the waist, lower body muscle. Again, maybe just a little bit, more than we've seen in classes in general for Fit Model, but still not even as much as Sydney. So Sydney, interestingly enough, based on these shots, might have the most muscle on this stage. She seems to have the biggest delts, overall fullness, roundness overall there, and definitely can see a little bit of the glute kind of coming from the front here, which again is pretty indicative of a lot of glute development. And I do think she has pretty good development in the quads here from what we can see. So overall, maybe the most muscular Fit Model athlete has actually won a Fit Model competition, which if you follow along with the NPC, the CPA, and you go back and forth, Canada does its own realm when it comes to criteria. If you don't know that, maybe you're just first getting into the sport, you haven't been paying attention to it, too much, or you didn't really know. Canada in general, I will say their shows do go a bit more muscular and honestly, a lot of times a bit harder too, a bit leaner as far as divisions go. Like we see that across the board. We see the most muscular wellness competitors coming out of Canada. We see the most, muscular bikini competitors coming out of Canada. It's just what we see. So I wouldn't be surprised that we see that with Fit Model as it sits right now. Because this is the only Fit Model class that I've reviewed yet, that the most muscular athlete out of the group wins the overall. So very interesting, very, very interesting to see that playing out. Again, not too surprised. And if you're a Fit Model competitor and you're watching, you're wondering, you're like, what does that mean? What I need to be doing? I've said it in previous videos. Just get on stage, okay? Bring your best Fit Model look. Get on stage. Don't try to add more muscle because you see Sydney here and she's got more muscle. You just want to go get on stage, get your own feedback. Because again, keep in mind, Fit Model, wild, wild west, folks. I've been saying it. That's what we're dealing with. That's where we are. That's how we can get more muscular athletes winning some leaner athletes winning some, and then some that don't look anything like that, winning others. And that's just how it goes. For a little bit more in-depth analysis here of, what we're talking about, bikini doesn't look anything like this. So here's the bikini class I want to just show for you, okay? Fit Model Bikini. So Fit Model Bikini. You see instantly what I'm talking about, where Canada CPA shows they in general trend to be a little bit more muscular and a little bit harder even than other events. But, if you were looking at Fit Model, even I was saying it, this seems to be a little bit more muscular. This could be more development than we've seen. Well, when you throw it next to bikini, it doesn't look anything like that, right? It still looks very different. Let's talk a little bit about bikini now, because we have to, right? We have to compare these. So this is Anna here. She's our Class C winner and our overall winner, okay? Over here, we have Larissa. She is Class A winner. And then we have over here, Paige, Class B winner. So as you can see, based on what I just said, the biggest and leanest athlete in bikini also is the one that won the class here. So Canada, CPA in general, I coach up in the CPA, by the way. I coach up there, love the events, have sponsored them, been a part of them. I love it. I've traveled up to Canada for events even. Love it. And in general, bikini division does go a bit harder, a little bit bigger. I always coach my athletes in that way if they're competing up there, because I just know that that's where the criteria really sits. Let's review these athletes a little bit more, though. Also, cannot do the back pose here, unfortunately. So hopefully you guys are, like, dang, that sucks. Why even make the video? I debated myself on that. I was like, why even am I going to make the video? But I have to bring it, because this is what we need to be talking about. We still need to talk about what we can talk about to get you that information out there up in the CPA especially, okay? So let's take a look. Anna definitely has, pretty developed shoulders for bikini. This is pushing, envelope of what we see in shoulder fullness in bikini. Again, not too surprised with a CPA athlete up there. This is what goes. This is what wins. Definitely very narrow taper into the waist. So overall creates a very good hourglass shape. Pretty freaking lean, right? Very flat stomach. This is a very lean physique. You start to see even some of those ribs. This is very indicative of a super lean look. And, we can see lines in the abdominals here that are not coming from a six-pack. They're coming from just literally basically no body fat. So very lean. And then lower body wise, we do see a lot of fullness in the glutes and in the quads. You start to see even a little bit of this feather separation here, if you will, not necessarily feathering to the degree like figure or something, but definitely a leaner look overall. So very muscular, very lean look for bikini. So if you're looking, again, back and forth NPC to CPA, this is how CPA goes. You got to know this. If you want to compete up there, you're going to have to be a little bit bigger and a little bit leaner if you want to win your shows, okay? Another class winner over here, Larissa, definitely very developed in the shoulders, a lot of fullness in the shoulders, very good taper into the waist, considering how narrow that waist is. Again, creates that hourglass look, and a super symmetrical lower body, so fullness to the glutes, quads, and hamstrings, really good balance between those groups. Not as lean maybe as our overall winner, but really just right there, very, very close to being super lean, so at least CPA overall, they're consistent, if nothing else, right, in what they're doing. They may be consistently bigger, leaner athletes, but they are definitely very consistent in their placings. Looking over here at Paige, we can see Paige has, a little bit less of the muscle up top, still wins her class. This is another class winner, Class B winner. A little bit less of a dramatic taper into the waist, but overall very symmetrical. Glutes, quads, hamstrings, everything matches here. Not the biggest of the group for sure, and it's interesting to note that, right? Because she's very symmetrical, has the shape, doesn't win that overall though. Again, keep in mind, we're only getting half the story, folks. I always tell you the full story is told by the back poses, and we're not going to get those, but that's all right. We can still compare what we can compare. One more class winner, Jeanette here. She wins Class D. We're just going to throw her right in the lineup here. So she definitely has, again, not as much muscle, not as much of the same look, definitely a lean physique, which again, you'll see very much so in the CPA competitions. Leaner bikinis tends to be the way it rolls up there. Not as much muscle in the upper body, though. A bit more of a depleted look for her. Still got the same great shape and great symmetry, all that. Very much a bikini look, wins that class, no doubt. But, different than the overall winner, where we see a lot more muscle in Anna, the overall winner, and a lot more, of that condition just coming through in every level. So Canada, CPA, a bit of expected for me, but maybe not for you, where bigger fit model competitors are going to win. Maybe even a tad leaner fit model competitors are going to win, and definitely bigger bikini and definitely leaner bikini is what wins. And that's been that way for, as long as I've been coaching. Every time, in the beginning when I first started coaching competitors and I started coaching the CPA, I was, like, whoa, this is a whole different ballpark up here, because it is a tad, it's more than a tad, honestly, leaner and more muscular, and it's interesting to note that, because if, like, let's say some of the Canadian athletes came down to compete in the States, well, depending where you go, it may not even, suit you to have that look. So, and vice versa, right? If NPC athletes somehow were competing up at the CPA, it would probably not favor them if they had a really dialed look down here. So it's just a different ballpark. It's important to note these things for yourself as a competitor. You want to know, where you need to be fitting, within what criteria, and what kind of look goes which way. So very interesting to see that our first, biggest fit model competitor has won that class, and then bikini continues to follow trend up there, which is big and lean. Very different look though, bikini to fit model, and this is the one of the first times we're going to see it roll out up there in the CPA. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer the CPA look for bikini and fit model, or are you on more of the NPC preference? A lot of the other events we've covered. If you haven't watched those, definitely follow along, hang out. I got a lot more content. Jump on another video I've done, jump on another review, and let me know what you think. I want to know. Thanks for watching. Coach Ryan is out.